is going on, y'all? Listen, so I am out and about, loving this weather. I got a good sweat going on this morning. It's serious out here. Look, so I am coming because I've been trying to figure out like a way to have this conversation, and still like maintain privacy for the family, but then also really get across the point of what is so important about this conversation. So earlier this week, I get called into a premature birth. And everybody, look, premature birth, nobody wants to mess with it because it's a big deal, right? There's a lot of sensitivity involved in it. But specifically the family, I know them well. I'm close to them. I've doulaed for them before. And so they call me up. I'm game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always down for the get down. And so we get to the hospital. And the whole time there, like, I'm prepping, well, on the whole time getting there, right? I'm prepping dad for everything to expect. Mom's already at the hospital. This is already a thing, right? I'm prepping for what to expect, almost like the posture to take, like the mental posture, right? And so we get there, and sometimes it's hard to stop a train when it's already moving. You know, like it's the truth that, you know, object in motion stays in motion. And so once these wheels towards any kind of intervention and stuff start, it's really hard to like backpedal and make them stop. But I'm there. And I'm kind of just bracing the family. Like, here's what to expect. This is what it is. This is what's happening. But inside me, I could find no rest. And so, like, I simply, you know, truth be told, like, I say a simple prayer. I'm like, God, I just need this to slow down, you know. Then all of a sudden, like, it starts to shift, right? Doctor number one comes in and explains to us all the reasons why this is a necessary procedure and how, you know, this is for the family's benefit. And in my head, I'm like, it all makes sense. I can't argue with it. Doctor number two comes in, maybe about an hour later, and is like, but what if not? What if, you know, like, and clearly she was speaking from a place that she was seeing some things that were a little bit different. And so she was moving in that direction. So she says, what if not? What if we don't have to do all this? You know, they already have dad prepped for surgery. They already have mom prepped for surgery. I mean, blue gowns and everything. And so doctor number two, you know, kind of lays a different foundation and stuff. The evening goes on. Now it's 4:00. Doctor number one comes back in and is really kind of pressing in that same vein. And there's nothing to be said. Like, you can't argue with what the doctor sees, right? And so, you know, mom is getting weary, you know, like mom is getting weary in her thoughts. You know, she's getting weary in her body. You know, it's been a long night. And so again, doctor number two comes back in and is like, but what if not? You know what I mean? Like, what if what we're seeing is not, you know, the end story? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's not like as necessary? And again, I'm going to be very, very specific. What doctor number two was seeing was very different. You know what I mean? Like, it was, you know, it was more positive than it was negative. And so really allowing the space for the family to like make a decision that was contrary to ones that they've been presented in the past. And I really just love the contrast. Most people would see that and they'd be like, oh, they need to get it together. Why can't they agree? Well, because that's the thing about birth. Like, look, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, this is so good. Like, that's the thing about birth is like, it's different for everyone. And sometimes what you see is not the only thing that's there. And so, like, you know, like you could take a perfectly good situation and then all of a sudden, like, it turns out bad, you know, and you could take a perfectly, you know, challenging situation and all of a sudden it turns out good. And so I think it's really important, one, for a second opinion. Look, can we just get some other people who think like us, who feel like us, who can assess the situation? And I'm not saying I cannot stand a sounding board. I don't want someone to just say what I want them to say. I want you to say what's actually there. You know what I mean? Like, if this is a completely necessary situation, then let's do that. But if we are just doing C-sections and procedures on families when it's not necessary, well, we got a doggone problem. And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had on a larger scale, but sometimes you can't have it on a larger scale. And so we need these opportunities. Look, I'm talking about it not because not because of anything else, but because I need people to know that just because one doctor, one nurse, one situation looks this way, it doesn't mean that when we continue to have the conversation, hold up, I see cobwebs up there. I'm going another way. Look, there is always another way. Look, just because it looks one way doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. And so I would, look, here's my best advice from the situation I was in. One, have the conversation. Even if you don't feel like you sound like you know what you're talking about, good, you don't. Like, you are a birthing parent, you did not go to school for this junk. Like, they have every responsibility to have the conversation with you. So if you have questions, ask all of them. Even if they sound stupid, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? Go for it. Go for yours, because at the end of the day, like, you're the one who has to rest with this decision. Like, they do this for a living. You don't, you know what I mean? Like, this is your life. And so have the conversation. Two, make yourself human. Ooh, I can't stress that enough. Make yourself human. Like, explain to them your situation. Look, I'm a mom of 4. I already have, like, and this is me telling my story. You know, I'm a mom of 4. I have 2 stepkids, 2 grandsons. You know what I mean? Like, I've miscarried. I have a great husband who needs me in his life. You know what I mean? Like, I am not without people who love me. I am not without, concerns. I am scared. Like, I've been to war and I am still fearful in this situation. Like, it is important to make yourself human. And a lot of times we don't want to be vulnerable because that vulnerability can be taken advantage of. So 3, then I would say, because you do have to worry about people who will manipulate you and who will use encouraging words to make you make the decision that they want you to make, I would say be mindful of that junk and know your setting, like know your viewpoint before you have the conversation with them. Like, also, and that's within this conversation, don't change your decision between the hours of between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Don't change your decision. And, like, don't allow them to pressure you to change your decision. Like, if it was an emergency, you would not have a conversation about it. If it was, like, I want you to know that if it was emergency, they would not have a conversation about it. They would simply wheel you in the back and we'd do the C-section. But if it's a conversation, then it's a whole conversation, and I have a whole choice in this. And don't be manipulated. Don't be manipulated if they want to drop you from care. Don't be it's a hospital. You might have the doctors that you like. You might have all that, but if they're going to manipulate you, they don't like you all that much. That's the bottom line. And that's the unfortunate truth, but it is. So don't judge a book by its cover. I had a great experience. Mom and baby are still doing great. And now I got to find another way home because spiders, they do exist. All right, y'all. Have a good day.